Hey guys, welcome back for another video. Today we're taking a look at the Spedal, I think that's how you pronounce it, NaviCam system. This is a Carplay / Android Auto / Dashcam system. We're going to unbox it real quick, go through its features, whatever it says in here. We're going to be learning about it together. Then we're going to install it on my FJR1300 and do some road tests. I'm going to show you all about it. If you have any questions about it, please drop a comment. I'll do my best to answer them. And of course, if any of you already have this and you can answer the questions, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, if I find any discount codes or I can get some from the factory for you, I will put them down in the description for you. All right, let's get it unboxed. I have to say, man, these companies have really upped the game on their packaging, and I can't help, ooh, it's magnetic. That's nice. I can't help think Apple changed the game years ago in that regard, but it's welcome. No more flimsy cardboard. So opening it up here, we have a nice info sheet. We'll take a look at that in a second. And the unit itself, we've got some wires coming out the back. It is plastic, I believe. It's got some heft to it, but I can't tell yet how much of that is the tension on the wires. We do have a screen protector on it here. I'll leave that on just for now. We've got 2 screws and a plastic cover on the bottom. Some are rubber, some are plastic. Nice and flush. Probably your SD card under there. We have what appears to be a sensor, maybe a light sensor on the top there. And looking for any kind of hard buttons. Do we have any hard buttons? I don't think we do. On the back, we've got some mounting screws for, no doubt, various types of mounts to put it on your bike. All right, let me get it out of here. I almost tossed this bag. I noticed little tiny extra screws here. I would imagine that's if you lose the 2 screws down in here, which probably means these aren't captured. We'll see. In this bag, we've got a special wrench and the tire pressure monitoring sensors. Very cool. Didn't know it had those included. I mentioned this in another review. We have the battery for some, wait, there's only one? Nope, there's 2. The batteries for the tire pressure monitoring system. Now, I'm going to imagine that these are just one set of batteries and they ship them separately, which is what you should do. That way they're not depleted if they're sitting on the shelf for years and you have to go out to the store and buy new ones, like I had to do last time. So that's very cool. That's the way it should be done. And we have a hardware set. And then we got some nice looking thumb screws. I'm going to imagine those are for the back of the unit. And then some smaller ones, maybe for the camera. I don't know, but very nice that they give you that well-endowed kit. Next up, we've got a big wiring loom and a camera, probably the rear, I'm going to imagine. Is that an extension? That is an extension. So you have the short camera lead and then an extension included. Very nice that that's not an optional extra, they give it to you. And then I would imagine we've got a regular short one for the front camera, and we do. And looking at the cameras, these are the current next gen, I'm calling them cameras. Smaller and better video quality than the ones from just a few years ago. Still with the generic looks like GoPro but aren't GoPro style mounts. So same part numbers, which kind of makes me excited because like I said in another review, I got a buddy that has a 3D printer and he's prototyping GoPro compatible collars for me. So those of you that want to be putting these next gen cameras on GoPro accessories, I might have a solution for you. Really, really cheap soon. We'll see. And we have, ooh, a heavy duty metal handlebar and articulating mount. That is sturdy and that is very nice looking. It's an anodized silver. Very nice. All right. I don't believe I'll be needing this because I have plenty of GoPro mounts, but you never know. And if you've got a bar, well, there you go. Plenty of spaces for that. And we have a wired remote. Not a fan of the orange colored buttons, but you know, maybe you could figure something out if you don't like the aesthetics. But I like that it's wired instead of wireless because that's just one less thing you have to worry about changing a battery on or recharging. Downside, you've got another wire to deal with, and that may not be so good on some bikes, but everything has a pros and cons. So that's nice. I like that they included at least. And then we also have the power wiring loom, standard stuff there, positive, negative, and switched. And you've got this nice braided sheath over it. That's nice. Are the other wires like that? I don't think they are. No, they're not. So you got the standard silicone insulation on the other wires, but the power for some reason has this nice braid. I'd like all the wires to have this. Anyway, just a nice extra, and a carrying case for something. It's too small to fit the unit, but I'm not sure what that would be for. Anyway, that's it in the box. So now that I have this out of the packaging, let's take this off. I want to see how big the bezels are. I'm expecting typical. They're pretty chunky. I think they're a little bit bigger than another one I just did, but it's not bad. You've got from thumb to thumb here. That's about the same size as my iPhone 13. No complaints there about the size. And it's not too heavy, not too light. I mean, it's about what I would expect from a solid plastic unit. There's no flex at all. If you didn't touch it, you would think it's metal. Let me put it that way. It's got a nice finish on it. It's matte. Fairly reflective screen, but that's typical. And then on the back, we do have these connectors here. It looks like these are breakout. Yeah, they do break out. Might be handy for wiring in some situations. Power, remote, and then these would be the two cams. Now I don't know if this has GPS or not. If it does, it must be integrated into the unit. If it doesn't, then you're not going to see things like your coordinates and speed and such. You know, might be important to some, not to others. So let's go ahead and start installing it. So just a quick note here, this is the bracket system for the remote. Now this would be really useful if you're going to be mounting your system up out of reach, up on a dashboard or up high, somewhere where it's not convenient for you to be tapping with your finger. I'm going to be mounting things really close here, so that's not an issue. I won't be using the remote, but it is nice that they give it to you. And with these brackets, you've got a lot of options. If you have some bolts, like in positions here, you could put in longer ones and run them through here. This one is to disassemble part of your switchgear and kind of shove it down in between your grip. And the idea is to put this button somewhere within thumb or finger reach, you know, wherever fits and looks good on your particular bike. And just a quick note on your SD card. If you see TF card, that's just another term for SD card. We use SD here in the States, and China likes to use TF, same thing. And they do recommend here, I've never seen this before, to regularly format the card to keep it in good condition. I can't say I've ever done that with any of my systems, even those that I've had installed running for years, like the dash cams in our cars and everything. But, I mean, it's not bad advice. Now, one thing I noticed right away about the unit is it's a little extra wide. This could be good for some people. I'm kind of indifferent to it. In comparison here, this is the Chigi AIO5 Play, and they are the same height. The actual screens are the same height, but they are different in width. There's, looking at the actual screen space, almost an inch of extra width. What that gives you is an extra row of icons on your CarPlay and an extra wide map. Now, not a bad feature, absolutely not. Why I say I'm indifferent to it, because really the screen size is only important to me for navigation, viewing a map while I'm riding. And to me, vertical space is more important. When I would use my phone, I would actually mount it vertically like this. And this is a little bit bigger than my phone, but you get the idea. I like to see the map vertical, so when I'm riding, I see a lot of information about what's coming up in front of me. But obviously with all these devices, and no, you can't rotate any of these to portrait, you're in a landscape mode. Not a big deal, you still have enough information, but you can see that adding width doesn't change anything as far as what you're seeing coming up on the map. So again, not bad, just an extra nice little bonus feature if you care about the extra width. Now they don't give you any kind of extra mount, so I don't have a ram ball mount, but what I'm hoping is their ball system is at least close enough to RAM where it will work in the RAM devices. So let's find out right now. I'm going to disassemble this, mount this on the back of the unit, which is the only mount they give you, and then hopefully I can use this in my system. Actually, I'll probably just use this arm and connect it to one of my balls. Giggity. So they are not quite the same, but they are close enough. You can probably see there that it is a tad bit smaller. You've got a slight widening of the sides here to go to the standard 1-inch RAM. Not a big deal. It's certainly holding completely solid, and it's not that sharp of an angle where you've got any worries here about this nut, which is the only thing holding it in, and then you got a regular torque screw on the end. That'll work just fine. So you could also use any of your RAM. This is about equivalent to the small size RAM extension. So the medium or large would be even less of an angle. Perfectly fine. And I did want to make sure, so here's the RAM small. It unfortunately does not have enough flex. It's fully tightened down, but because the tolerances here on the RAM push the two shells together, it can't actually pivot like that other bracket can. So this is left a little bit loose even with this cranked down. So I will have to use the mount that came with it. So all they need is to sell this in the standard 1-inch RAM size, and I'll look it up and put it down on the screen if they do indeed do that. So taking off the bottom panel here to get the SD card in, just to confirm these screws are not captured, so be very aware of when you're taking this off. I'm doing it here on one of my tool drawers, so I won't lose them, they won't bounce anywhere, and that is why they give you extras. And they're just standard little tiny Phillips screws. And then underneath, we do have a rubber gasket that I need to peel back, so it's not integrated into the cover either. That would have been nice. Let's go ahead and take this off. And again, that's just a loose part. Would be nice if that was attached to the unit and could flap back or something. So don't lose that. That is absolutely required for water tightness. And then underneath, we can see that we have the SD card slot and a USB-C slot. And I'm assuming that's for maybe future updates, maybe attaching to a bracket, something like that. But that's something I'm finding common on units, even though there is no published spec for what they are for. I'm gonna go ahead and pop in my card. And this is just a first-time sticky film that you have to remove. Hey, that appears to have a card in it. Oh, it's really sticky. Interesting. Yeah, it does look like a card. Let's pop that out, see what it is. Might be a blanking plate. All right, I'm gonna need a little Allen tool or something. A lot of times I'm finding you have to push these things so far in past flush that, you know, if you don't have super long fingernails, you're not gonna get it to click and undo. Stand by. Look at that. I have to go back and double check the instructions. I didn't see, or at least notice, that it includes a nice Lexar 64 gig card. And these are nice cards. I've used Lexar for years for my main cameras. Cool. Yeah, nothing explicit about including the card. Nice. For each camera, they do give you optional screws if you want to screw it down to whatever surface, and 2 sets of sticky pads. They are not 3M brand, so I'm not going to tell you that they're going to be the stickiest thing in the world. I would suggest making your own out of actual 3M sticky pad material, just to be sure. Although these are super nice and thin. They're about half the thickness of normal 3M very high bond sticky pads. And the cameras are indeed, the actual units, the same lens bodies at least that are being used on other units, and I do see other units I haven't shown you yet that are also using these. The end is a little bit different on different models and brands though. These have all plastic rings as opposed to metal, but should give the exact same picture because they're the same sensors. So with the tire pressure monitoring system sensors, this is even better than I thought. We have a pretty standard design. They are quite a bit larger than a standard filler cap, and they spin apart using the special wrench. However, the batteries they give you are extra. They're not just separately packaged, but you do get the 2 fresh batteries. there are already batteries installed in the unit. Now, from past experience, I'm going to go ahead and take these out and measure the voltage to see how depleted they are, and we'll also measure these new guys here just to make sure before we go ahead and try to put these on the bike. And they give you this nice little special wrench, and that allows you to spin off the top so you can get to the guts. And make sure when you put it back on, it is completely tightened down. You shouldn't see any gap between the two parts. So installed battery number 1 is right at 3 volts. That is low. Even though it's a 3-volt cell, you should be well above 3 if the battery is new. Let's check one of the new ones. 3.35. That is what you want to see for a good, healthy cell. So I'm going to go ahead and swap these out just to avoid any potential problems. Now what's interesting is we have 2 different brands of batteries. The ones that were installed in the units are Maxell, and then what are included separately in the packaging are unbranded. And I would bet what happened is they ran into the same thing that I found. They were getting units brand new shipped out that have been sitting too long because it's installed and the batteries are already dead, so that they're sending out brand new ones separately in a package. Hey, all good. I don't care. As long as we've got fresh batteries, just measure yours beforehand, and if you're seeing 3 or below, definitely swap them out and chuck the ones that came in the units. They do give us a really nice length on the power cable. It is long enough to go wherever you want on pretty much whatever bike you're installing this on. Love it. No extension needed. Front cam, rear cam. Nice. If you know, you know. Just for comparison's sake, the tire pressure monitoring system they use is the old style, so it is quite a bit larger than the more modern units. They use the larger coin cells. Here is a comparison to the new generation. They're out on some other brands and units. The issue is using these are so incredibly light. I would have absolutely no reservations using these on stock rubber valve stems. They weigh almost nothing. I can almost barely feel it. This one is about 3, maybe 4 times heavier. It has heft to it. It has noticeable mass. The battery alone is twice the size. There's a lot more metal in it. It's not even close. If you're going to run the old style, no matter what the brand, you must be using metal valve stems. Do not put these on rubber. You will break them. I'm going to run them just for testing. Short term is fine, but you can see how large they are compared to a standard cap size. And on another note, when you fill your tires before you put these on, go up a whole PSI. When you're screwing these on or off, the threads are kind of large, and the way the depression is for the valve, it does let out quite a bit of air as you're screwing it on. For the camera mounts, they do give you Phillips screws here, or bolts, but it is still the basic, almost GoPro design, not GoPro compatible though. So it'd be nice if they would come out with compatible rings. That would be nice. I'm gonna go ahead and mount them on the bike using my own tape so I don't use up the tape that came with the system. They do give you pads though. Now I'll put a link down below to detailed wiring instructions and camera placement for the FJR1300. And here's a here's a good reason why I use my own tape, at least at first, so I don't waste the custom pads. Pay attention, like I just didn't, to which side the adjuster is on for the screw or bolt, depending on what you're installing, because it may be on the wrong side. I got to take this off and flip it around now because it's on the top and I can't loosen or tighten it. Oops. And even though they're plastic, good solid quality connections here between all the wiring ends. No problems whatsoever there. Something though I'm not at all a fan of is all the chunky connections right at the back of the unit. I would much rather, like some other brands, have longer cables coming out of the unit, and they are hard into the unit. You can't do anything about that. And even if you put extensions on it, you still have all these hard, inflexible connections in plain sight. There's no way you're going to be hiding this stuff completely because you can't. You've only got about 5 inches between where it becomes stiff and the back of the unit. So you're going to be seeing some stuff like this, and you're going to have to deal with trying to hide it. I would much rather have a longer cable, a couple feet long, and then have the wiring being able to hide it somewhere in the bike, somewhere completely out of sight. Another note on the power connections, pay attention. They are using non-standard coloring, usually red and black as your positive and negative, your constant power with the yellow being switched. However, they're using yellow and black for the constant and the red being switched. And I do want to make a quick note that the instructions are fully normal. It's not translated. Everything looks completely professional and corporate as you would expect. All right, time for first boot up. I did verify this is a light sensor. We do have automatic brightness control. That's a nice feature to have. Let's see what time we get here for setup. We'll run through whatever features it has. I need to verify if it has any kind of GPS or not. Like I said, it built in if it does. I like that it has the battery voltage indicator. And I'll probably need to top that off a little bit. All right, so we've got a very nice looking display. Again, I'm super impressed with the resolution and the contrast and the vibrance of these modern displays, let me tell you. So we have no hard buttons on the outside. Everything is touchscreen. So I got the 64 gig card that it came with in there. I guess that indicates there's a card in there or not. That's probably Wi-Fi. Maybe it turns green or something if we're connected. I haven't done anything at all yet. You can see I haven't even set the time. This does have dual Bluetooth radios, which is very cool. So you can connect to both your phone and comms separately at the same time, or add in Bluetooth speakers, for example. Maybe your bike has built-in sound system. You can just connect right to that. So we've got CarPlay. I haven't set it up yet. Yeah, it wants me to go ahead and connect. I'll do that in a second. What else do we have? Android Auto, Wi-Fi video, that's probably downloading. Yep, so that'll want you to connect directly from your phone to the unit, and that's how you pull files. I need to set the, okay, that's interesting. On the cables, they're listing front and rear, but still in the software, we've got front and back. Like I said, these companies are all sourcing things from different companies. They don't make the cameras. I'm sure they're not making the little labels on the cables either. Audio, what's that? Oh, okay, so that's just your direct headset pairing. Playback, probably for playing any stored video. I've seen it called DVR in other units. And we haven't recorded anything yet, so that's there. Now we've got settings. Here we go. Brightness should be on auto. And I'm just going to leave it stock auto on, and we'll see how it looks out of the box. Assistive touch. I have no idea what that is. Assistive touch. I was seeing if it had any kind of haptic or sound or something. Maybe it gives you a bigger area to touch. I'll have to read through the manual and see if there's anything about that. Clear connections. Okay, so that just blanks everything out. Got a direct button to brightness, and yep, that is on or auto on or off there in the corner. And a direct button to Bluetooth pairing. This should be dash cams. There we go. Oh, that one is, how do I have the front one upside down? I've got the bike on the side stand, so that's supposed to be crooked, but that's weird. I could have sworn I aligned that. Maybe I didn't. Hang on. Huh. I do have it correct. The label there is where the up indicator is. Maybe the housing or the sensors got put in upside down. Maybe there's a setting in the camera to flip it, but that would be kind of odd since you can rotate them. But I haven't touched it. You can see the little arrow clearer here on the rear camera. That's where the up indicator is. Got the bike up on the center stand now so I can get them fine adjusted. And no, there's no setting for rotation in software, just the rear mirroring. I'm not sure which one is going to be correct. So yeah, that means that front camera was built upside down. Not a big deal, but might want to check your orientation before you lock everything down. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate that. Let's see, how do we switch cameras? Tap on it, brings up a menu. What's that? Record audio, yes or no? What's that? Direct connection again. Take a photo. And mind you, all of this can be done very quickly. with the 2-button wired remote through button touches and long presses. And then this should be lock the current clip. That's about the most common thing you're going to be using as far as dash cam interaction. You see something happened, you do whatever you have to lock that clip. That way you can go back and find it a lot sooner. That's the only thing locking a clip is going to do for you if you've got a decent card in there. This should be stop and start recording. So I'll have to play around here and see if we can give a full screen for a particular camera, maybe picture-in-picture. I don't like that all you get is this dual screen and they're cropped. Obviously you're not seeing most of the picture in both of them, and that one's upside down. All right, let me look into it. Okay, I finally made it through all the settings, got everything configured with the app. I'm gonna go through some stuff here. It's not all roses. App-wise, this is kind of on par with a lot of the other older gen dash cams that I've done, both car and motorcycle. Clunky is the best I can say about it. If you're using CarPlay, I can't speak to Android Auto, but if you're using CarPlay, you have to disable it in your phone to be able to connect via the app. No matter what you try, as soon as you try to connect manually to the Wi-Fi of the unit, it automatically just kicks you right back to CarPlay and brings you back here. You can't get into the thing without disabling CarPlay first. Then launch the app, then you can connect to it. That being said, the one and only reason you'll be using the app is to download files from the unit. There are no other settings or uses for the app itself. You can update the firmware. It shipped with the latest available version, and you can also do it via computer by taking the card out and flashing it that way if you don't want to use the app. All right, now on this home screen, this is the only place I found where you can actually view the dash cams in their entirety, and however, unfortunately, they're not full screen. That's it. You just get this one little window, and you can flip between them or go back to the wallpaper. You can tap it to remove the stuff. That's it. You can see I flipped the camera upside down, which fixed the image. So that's all you got for dash cams. It does not have any GPS, so you don't get any telemetry, no speed, no coordinates, nothing like that. It is strictly video or not, and that's it. This is your lock indicator again. Pretty basic. I'm not even sure what screen I would have this on. Probably just my CarPlay. I think this is the unit you would get if you want the peace of mind where you've got dash cams and you don't have to do anything with them, and your main purpose is just to get CarPlay for playing music and navigation. It's pretty good at that. I don't understand the dedicated button for the brightness. It's not like you're going to be hitting it. I don't understand the dedicated button for pairing. I mean, I'm talking on the home page here. Seems like a little bit of wasted space, especially when the useful thing is so darn small. This is also the only place you see the tire pressures. Yeah, so going to this screen, this is, I guess, just for setup. So you do get the cropped front and rear, and that's it. That's all that button does. And to go back home, you have to hit the screen and hit that home there again. Now, when you're on CarPlay, smart screen here, that's your home button. It just adds this CarPlay app, but all it is a home button. And over here, it brings up the 4 hard buttons that are on the home screen. Exact same thing. So, not really sure what the purpose of that layout is, but maybe it's just kind of a default thing that comes with CarPlay. Couldn't tell you. But that's that. So, let's go ahead and forget how to go home now. Oh, no, right here. Easy button there. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything. Firmware is updated. Yeah, let's go ride and check out the quality of the dash cams. It's kind of hard for me to tell how the quality is. It looks better on my phone because it's amping up the exposure a bit. The brightness of the screen itself looks good, but the dash cam looks a little bit dimmer. Just looking at my wall, you know, the actual garage is brighter, and this is a bluer image. So not as accurate as some others I've seen, but none of that really matters that much to me. I want to see what it looks like when it's being recorded. So, proof's in the pudding. Let's go check it out. Oh, hey lizard. You better get out of here, you're gonna get stuck in the garage. It's got this bug here. I'm just pulling off the footage. When you turn off CarPlay and then switch to Wi-Fi, there's a prompt behind here, but there's this warning that pops up right over the buttons. Make sure CarPlay is enabled. See, now I can get to the buttons, but that warning keeps coming up. You gotta wait for it to go down, then I can connect and download my footage. Now the good news is the app allows very easy multiple clip downloading just with a couple swipes. So that's very good. Just a quick note on something odd that I'm noticing. This particular unit may need the positive and negative wires connected to constant power. Some units don't care if positive, negative, and the trigger switch is all on the switched circuits, but this one keeps resetting the date and time. And it's not like it's resetting to 0, it keeps flipping the AM and PM, and it keeps flipping the date. The time is correct. It says it's 5:18 right now, but I look in here and it says 5:34. It's just not making any sense. If I cancel this, go back to home, now it says 5:35. It just said 5:18 when I went in the menu. So bear in mind that this may need constant power, at least for the main 2 wires. So to test that theory, we are connected directly to the battery through my auxiliary cable there for the main positive and negative wires, and then the signal wire switched. So the unit has constant power through those. This comes on with the key. I've just reset the date and time again, and that is correct. So we're going to confirm and just verify it shows there correctly, 7:18 p.m. Now we're going to shut the thing off and let it cycle. It says accessory off, will shut down. Now we're going to come back on. It's very interesting that this would need that, because not all the settings are dependent on it. Obviously, it's got an internal battery and capacitor, so there you go. This one does require constant power to maintain the date and time, but nothing else. None of the other settings cycle. CarPlay kicked me off again there. None of the other settings cycle with that accessory only. That just doesn't make any sense. Hopefully they can fix that in a firmware update. It just doesn't make, I mean, that should be the very first thing that is saved by the internal battery or capacitor, is your time and date. I could see some other funky setting switching, but not the date and time. Anyway, just an odd little thing there to make note of. Okay, time for the road test. Before I get going, this is not my first time riding with this. I've been giving it some time and going through features. Found a couple things that I want to bring to your attention just before I get moving. One, when you're in CarPlay here, now this may simply be my setup, it may put this here by default, but it installed the smart screen icon, which is the home button, back on the unit, right in this bottom left corner, and I'm going to tell you why it's not a good spot for it. So you might want to put it somewhere else. When you're moving down the road, you know, you don't have a real steady finger, so if you hit that, it comes back to this screen. Now this is the home screen, obviously. It's not super useful. The 2 things that I really love on it are the tire pressure readings, which are excellent, by the way. These give instant correct readings from the second you turn it on. So they did a great job with the tire pressure system. And I love the battery voltage. That is a great feature that they should all have. Incredibly useful. But other than that, it's not very functional, other than switching to things that you're probably not going to use. CarPlay is about the only thing you're going to be using this for as far as the head unit. You got the 4 buttons here that are pretty much duplicated with the 6 over here. Now this here, this motorcycle display, you can switch between the dash cams. Now when you come back to the home screen, if you have one of the dash cams on, unfortunately
it defaults to having the settings buttons momentarily show. The problem there is, if you're in CarPlay and you hit this button here or anything right around here and you're bouncing down the road, your finger can accidentally tap the stop recording button. That should never be there. There's no reason to have the stop recording button even on the screen. So be aware of that. You're probably not going to want your dash cam display up here all the time. So I would suggest keeping it on this generic motorcycle display for your home screen. That solves that. Now let's get out and I'll tell you about another problem that I'm troubleshooting, and I think I've narrowed it down. This only happens when you have CarPlay connected, and I think the unit is overheating. Now we're at extreme temperatures in the garage there. You can see it's 104. We're in the upper 90s ambient, direct sunny Florida day. It's hot, right? With CarPlay, the unit is now using more processing power, and what I'm finding is it's acting like my phone when I'm out and it's too hot and the screen dims. This is on full brightness, by the way, and I'm leaving it on default auto, and it's so bright that it just tries to max it out. So this is as bright as it will ever get. It's a little bit dimmer to you than my eyes. I've seen it in editing, but not much. It is still very dim to my eyes compared to what it should be. However, going down the road here, I expect it to do what it's done a few other times, get even dimmer. So dim that I can't even read the tire pressure numbers. And that's when it gets really hot. So we're gonna test that out. But while we're going down here, I want to test all the dash cams. And we're going to be looking for pixelation, how it handles details in shadows and bright sunny spots. Going through these roads here with all the trees, there's tons of fast detail. Now I'm uploading those in I'm uploading all these videos in extreme quality, so YouTube shouldn't be gimping it too much. Come on, what are you doing, dude? Let's go. Come on. Come on. You can do it. There you go. Oh, got another one. So YouTube shouldn't be doing too much to the footage. Let me put it that way. So we want to be looking for details in the clouds, how it handles the overexposure, because we do have an extreme of dynamic range here. Deep shadows in the tree lines all the way to the bright overblown whites of the clouds. Now the first time I noticed the screen dimming, I thought I was going crazy. I can already see it to my eye getting dimmer right now, but I didn't know for sure until the first time I pulled some footage into editing and I saw the moment it changed, all on its own. And it didn't have anything to do with going through shadows or direct sunlight. That was my first thought, was, well, maybe the automatic brightness is doing its thing. Just notice I had my blinker on the whole time. But no, it wasn't that at all. So I think it's just having all the features on, cooking the processor in this extreme heat and direct sun for a little while will make the screen dim, probably to decrease that heat. That's just my working theory, at least. Now I did try it with CarPlay disabled on my phone, so it didn't connect, and it was actually fine for a while. I couldn't get it to trip without CarPlay enabled. So that's my theory on that anyway. Now I am curious what the screen is going to look like at night, and if we see any kind of change in its brightness when it's dark. I'm just keeping an eye on it here out of the corner of my eye. I'm not looking down and staring at it. As far as the screen itself, perfectly adequate. Glare is very well controlled. It just needs to be brighter. The saturation looks fine. But again, you're not going to be really using much other than your CarPlay interface, and really what that looks like is up to your app choices, and this goes for any of the CarPlay units. What music you're playing, what that looks like, what your navigation especially looks like, all down to the app choices. And just a note, if you're on Android and you're using the Android Auto, you are also limited in the apps that you can choose, because there are quite a few apps, especially nav apps, that are only available on iPhone. It's very quick to the touch, so it does respond well. I have no problem with the software itself. Now, for the cameras, I'm curious as to how the lack of stabilization will manifest. My GoPro has basic stabilization. It's only an old 6 black, so it doesn't have anything fancy. It's just a little bit of software stabilization, no hardware sensor stabilization. Some other units have dash cams with built-in stabilization to the cameras. We're going to head out to the main road here, do a little high-speed run just to see how the pixelation works, and we're going to get close to some cars just to verify how easy or not it is to read plates. Keep your head on a swivel, everybody. That's all I can say. And the whole reason I'm doing these latest rounds of tests is because I will not drive or ride around this area at all without dash cams. Way, way, way too many incidents. Not even including my own. Right here is why I really prefer the option to have full screen dash cams, especially if the unit has a rear facing camera and can switch to it when slowing down, because I'm always checking my mirrors, but it would be very nice to have a full screen rear cam right now sitting at a light, especially at a red light around here when you're at a stop and you want to make sure that everybody behind you is not going to run into you. So I'm about 2 car lengths behind this guy here. I can easily read it with my eyes. I'll slow down a little bit here. Here's 3 car lengths. Slow down a little bit more. There's 4 car lengths. So it's a little hard for me to read with my eyes. Shouldn't be able to read it with the cam because these are the standard 140-degree wide-angle cams. So here's a good test of pixelation on the road, details in the trees, details in the clouds, and all that. This car is about 5 car lengths ahead of me. 4, 3, 2, 1. And that'll wrap it up for the daytime test just before today's storm. Good timing. As soon as it gets dark, I will be back out, and here comes the night test. So with our night footage, we are looking for the exact same stuff. How easy is it to see details, especially in dark shadows? I see a bunch of people there on the sidewalk, not too visible to the naked eye, no lights on or anything. But it probably looks pretty good on the dash cams. And we'll go through a very well lit parking lot up here just to see how lit nighttime footage looks. Go out on the road real quick, finish up with some higher speed night details, just looking for any kind of blurring. Looking at the screen itself, it looks perfect for nighttime as far as the brightness goes. I doubt we're going to see any kind of dimming here at night. It's cooled off a bit. It's 91. Sun's been down about half an hour. And without the direct sun beaming on an electronic device, you usually don't see any kind of behavior like that. So I'm sure we'll be fine. Now they should have, yep, some floodlights here because they're doing some parking lot work. Just buzz through here real quick. See how it handles headlights, dark shadows in areas like this. Shouldn't be anything unusual. I can't remember the last dash cam system I've tested that looked crappy at night. It's been a long time. Sensors have been very good for years. So reading plates here, that car is 3 car lengths ahead of me. That's about when I can start to read it clearly with my eyes. It's about 2 car lengths ahead of me right now. And 1 right here. So that's a good test for reading the plates. And then up to speed here, we're just looking for how does it handle what you see on the road. Now admittedly, these are non-LED headlights, so they are a little bit yellow and definitely not as bright as modern cars. This bike's 10 years old and it didn't get LEDs until a few years after this model. So don't expect crystal clear road, but a lot of bikes still don't have LED headlights, so it is a good indicator of worst case scenario. think that's going to wrap it up. I don't see anything happening as I expected here with the brightness of the screen. So I hope this has helped, and like I said, if you got any questions, anything I can clarify for you or test while I've got the unit, I'll be more than happy to do so. Just drop a comment and stay tuned. I've got many more reviews of these systems coming right now.